Welcome back to the Command Your Brand Show. I'm your host, Josh Silvestro, brand ambassador of Command Your Brand. We help CEOs and founders to get their message out on top-rated podcasts. Grab our new book, rated the #1 PR book on Amazon, bestpodcastbook.com. Reminder before we get into today's conversation to comment on and like this video and smash the subscribe button if you want to command your brand through the power of podcasting. All right, welcome back to the show, everyone. So I really want to I have an amazing guest here who actually, we're going to go into this new series here about Command Your Brand. We're going to interview our amazing employees that we have here at Command Your Brand, because I find just knowing who the people who you work with, who they are, what they do, and things like that is just amazing, and just you get to know them personally, you know. So I really want to introduce this next person I have, who, you know, she's just. I'll tell you, she's an amazing mother. She's an amazing cook, and she's an amazing wife. I would say husband, but wife. And she's a health coach, and she's just all around. She's been a business owner herself, and I really just want to introduce her in a really amazing fashion. So this is our director of sales, which is Jennifer Parese Silvestro. So please tell us a little bit about yourself, Jen.
Oh my goodness. How do I follow that, Josh? That was such a good lead in. I don't even know where to start with that.
Yeah.
So I'm director of sales. I'd like to think that I'm more like a client strategist, that I help to figure out exactly what it is the client needs and then give them the appropriate programs, like make suggestions on the appropriate programs. So do you want to know my background? What would you like to know?
Yeah, so we're going to deep dive in because I think people also want to know who you are. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like first, like where do you come from? I kind of want to know a little bit about you too. Like where do you come from, and like how did you come to Command Your Brand? Like just give us not your whole life story, but your whole, I guess, some little history about you.
So I was born on I'm kidding. So I'm a Hudson Valley, New York transplant. I'm living in Central Jersey, but I was born and raised in the Hudson Valley area. I have 3 kids of my own, a 29-year-old daughter who's an attorney, he just turned 27-year-old son who works for Cal Automotive. And my 19-year-old is currently in college, in her second year of college. And then I have my bonus child. That would be you.
That's right. So people that don't know about this, so basically, to make a long story short, she married my dad. If you guys listen to my last podcast about myself, you should go check it out. But if just to catch you up to date, my mom passed, and time went on, and my dad found someone else, and so now here we are.
And I'm the someone else.
I'm the someone else. Yeah. And she's Italian too. Look at that.
Yeah. So it's been an interesting journey to get to Command Your Brand. I was working as a health coach. Back that up. I've always been a health coach. Like it's sort of my calling and my mission and my desire to help people. And I always believed, I grew up Italian. So the first meal I was stirring sauce at 9 years old. And I always thought that good food would help people. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I came from that standpoint. Like I had family members who were doing, looking at labels way back when, before looking at labels was a cool thing, right? So like we were holistic before holistic was cool. And then I started to have kids. I in my late 20s, I had my first one, and she had some medical issues, so that weren't being resolved. So I kind of looked into alternative healthcare, and I found my way to. You can hear one of the many pets in this house in the background. So that is my youngest daughter's Bird, who is not quiet, and I don't have noise canceling stuff on today, so my apologies for that. But the dog's not here barking because we don't have the dog right now anymore.
Yeah.
He's like finding a new place to live, sort of after he left us. He passed. So. Yeah. Anyway, and the cats are quiet, which is really good. So so I started looking into integrative or complementary healthcare and medicine, and started studying that. And then when I was just short of 50, I wanted to do something else with my life, right? Like something that mattered. My husband at the time and I owned a business and rental houses, and I was property managing. And, it was just like, it was great. It was bringing in the money, but it wasn't like it wasn't like really fulfilling a purpose. So I went to school to become a health coach. I went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, which is a very hands-on program. It's like the equivalent of a master's degree. Like the credits will transfer if I ever want to go back to school for my master's. But I wanted really hands-on, immediate, like practical. I didn't want any more theory. I had enough theory as far as like, studying theory. So I went for that rather than the theory master's PhD. If I was maybe a little bit younger, I would have thought about it, but I wanted to jump right in. So I did. I got like hired to work at a holistic weight loss center, and I stayed there for 6 years, and then sort of decided that I was going to strike out on my own. I was going to open up my own health coaching business. And, so, I needed to be closer to home. I needed less hours that I was working. There were some life circumstances that happened in my family that I needed to be home for. So this was like the perfect thing, like to just open up my own health coaching business. And I left with no plan. I just left, and never thought that I would be given several job opportunities. And one of them was Command Your Brand. So, So
that's pretty cool. So in terms of like, I know, cause you're also an amazing mother too, like, tell us like how it was like, because I know a lot of people who listen to this podcast are also mothers too, and they all have they all have their own businesses, or maybe they work for a business. But just tell us about you, like how are you able to persevere, you can say, as a mother of 3, and now, 3.5 really, but
3.5,
4.
So there's a big gap between my older 2 and my youngest one. So my older 2 were like 2 years apart, and when their dad and I split up, they were 2 and 4. So I was like, what do? I didn't want to put them in daycare. So I opened up a catering business. So I had a catering business. That's an interesting backstory, because I did some jobs for private places, but I also worked, I don't want to say gentleman's club, because that's the wrong connotation. That's a whole world.
That's a different thing. Yeah.
That is not my thing. Frank, if you're watching this, was not my thing. Frank is my husband and Josh's father. I'm just clarifying that to be sure. It was a members only poker room. So I got a gig where I was working 6 nights a week. I was doing overnights. So it like really served my desire to be home with my kids. So I was home during the day with them, and then I worked nights, and my mom lives with us. So I left them with her. I'd like to think I was there a lot for them. I was tired a lot of the times, because 6 nights a week overnight, you do 1 overnight a week, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So I would like go to sleep at 7, get up at 8:30 to put them on the bus, and then go back to sleep until 11, and then get up and start cooking. And it was a lot, but you know what? I had a lot of fun. It was a fun environment, and I got to be home with my kids, like summertime, spring break, all their vacations. I was home with them. So.
Yeah. I know that's a really common and interesting thing, is that one of the moms, you could tell me, you can write a comment, or, definitely email us. But, one thing that was really funny is like, they want to have their business, but they also want to have the time for their kids, and spend the time with the kids is like one of the most valuable things, especially, because they grow up so fast, and they're like, I'm not a parent yet, but, I just know for a fact, when my mom was around, was just like, she was running around, and then all of a sudden they kind of grow up, and they're like, I'm an adult. I'm out of the house now,
It's a lot. Yeah. So I think the working nights helped a lot for me to be home with them. I took a 3-year hiatus when I had my 3rd child. So she is 10 years younger than my oldest one. So I have 29, 27. You're 29 also. 29, 27, and 19. Yeah. She was a little bit of a surprise. She was like, how'd this happen? Oh my God, I'm having another baby all these years later. It was crazy. I took a 3-year break. I did literally nothing but run kids around and take care of her for 3 years. And I was ready to like blow my brains out. So as much as I love being home with my kids, it was not good for me. And I'm sure that a lot of moms will echo this. It was not also good for me or, the household, for me to just be home doing kids all the time, like watching kids and playing with kids and chauffeuring them around. So that's when we started to do like the rental house thing. And then we bought a laundromat, which is not really a hands-off business, but it is certainly less hours than going to the office. And I worked, again, the night shift. My kids didn't have bus transportation, so I was really chauffeur mom for schools back and forth. Yeah. But that the ability to like own your own business or to work for a company that allows you flexibility in your hours and, hybrid, either part in the office or at home, I think is ideal for parenting. I think it gives you the break that you need from being a mom, but also allows you to keep your autonomy as a person, right? So
yeah. Yeah, it's like moms, for all of the moms that are listening, you guys are incredible. Don't think otherwise, because you are, even though if your kids say, ugh, I hate you, or I don't want to be around you,
all the time.
It's totally not true. I have a fair share of that. So I think, if kids are listening to this, you need to respect your moms, that is because they gave birth to you, and that's just the way it is,
Yeah. I've done both. I've worked full time with kids and I've been home with kids. It's a lot harder to be home with kids. I will tell you this though, I won't trade 1 minute of like the crazy that I had, that I was able to spend time with them. Yeah, you obviously can never go back. I would have liked to have had more time, because you're right. It's like I blinked and here they are, 29 and 27 and 19. And, they're finally kind of realizing what it's like to not be a kid and to have a little more, responsibility and ownership of themselves. And that's been a fun journey too. So,
yeah. One thing I really loved about my parents, and, you did this too, and Frank is amazing at it too. Like, he gave you small responsibilities, as you grew up. And so I was at a point where I was already like, okay, I'm doing all these things, but a little extra, So for me, it kind of built it up. And I think that was really amazing for them to just give you that opportunity, just give in little responsibilities each day, or each year you grow up,
You know what?
So
no free rides. So.
Yeah, no free rides. Exactly. So now it's okay. So I want to kind of dive in a little bit. So for you, so I'm just kind of curious, like, I know we've had our private conversations, you and I, but I guess for our audience here, so why choose Command Your Brand? Like, why choose a place? There's probably a few other companies you could probably work for. You could probably make, be in the health coach area. You can do a lot of other, but why Command Your Brand? Why podcasting specifically?
So I have an undergraduate degree in English Lit and Communications. So it's not really so far off of what I was educated, if you can call it an education, to do. I did some hands-on, like a very, very little bit of college radio. I wasn't really great at it because I like the visual, although I'm much better now at talking without any visuals, because I do get clients who won't hop on a video call with me. When I've been friends with Jeremy and Brielle, the co-founders of Command Your Brand, for a while, long before I came to work for them. And Brielle's mom and your dad they go way back, like 30 years back, right? Mm-hmm. So like we had a social aspect together. And when they found out I had left my job, we connected. I think it was Rebecca. Rebecca is Josh's fiance. So I think she said, you need to talk to Jeremy and Brielle. I'm like, okay. I had no idea what the job was about. I had no idea. I had never really done sales per se. I had run a marketing department. I did sales for my business, but that's different. Like it's not like a full-time sales position. And one of the reasons I like to say client strategist is because it's a little bit of a different approach to traditional sales. It's really taking the time to care for the client and be there for them and give them the best advice you can on what's right for them. There are people that I have referred out because they're not a good fit for us and we're not a good fit for them. So you have to kind of be comfortable about saying that, like saying it's not the best fit. My health coaching background helped a lot with talking to people, because I come into the calls first and foremost from a care factor, like from a point of wanting to help the person, not like looking to sell them. I think we mentioned this, like Josh and I did an interview, a podcast like a couple of days ago, but my video crapped out. So can I say that? My video crapped out.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Cut out. So we're redoing this. But I think I mentioned it the other day that Jeremy has often said that I should write a book called No Wham Bam Thank You Ma'am Sales, because I don't go into the client call looking to close the deal. I hate it. It's like I'm going in to find out what's best for the client. Obviously, right. They're here to buy a service and I'm here to give them the best service and guide them in which service they should purchase from us, because we have several different levels of service, whether it's guesting or podcast production, or like we have a new program called Real Impact that we put out reels and they go out on Instagram. and they are drawing a lot of attention. We use it for our business, but we're doing it for our clients as well. So it gives them a real impact. So, I have to kind of figure out what's the best fit for them. So it is a little bit like matchmaking, and it's, I just really love, I don't want to gush, but I do love talking to people. So when I have a jam-packed calendar and I'm talking to one person after another, that's when I'm at my happiest. Because, it's just, it is like kind of coaching them along. So,
yeah.
But yeah.
Excuse me. So what was kind of interesting is, because it's interesting because you're it's sort of like you ever like look at a position, right? You're in this exact position at the right time in the right place. And it's funny because you were at one point a business owner, a CEO of a company, you were a health coach, in the health space. And, I guess my question is like, for you, like, how would you best help people? Like people who come to you, they're like, oh, I want to get on podcasts and I want to like help grow or my podcast or, whichever. I guess like who do you feel is the best people to go on podcasts? Like you've talked to a lot of people. Who do you find are the best people that you've helped that actually made it on podcasts that actually, liked us?
First of all, everybody loves us. I can't say that, and that's not like hyperbole. People who have problems, usually people who have problems outside, because we give a really amazing product. Like we do above and beyond what's even promised, and we do a bang up job of delivering what we want people to have. Our ideal client, like we're mission based. Our company has a big desire to like help people who are helping to change the face of the planet. So you had mentioned that you're interviewing William Tucker.
Yes.
Yeah. So I met him when I was on vacation recently. He's a really cool guy. So he's got a company called Charity United. And what he does is he helps children and young adults who are in like lesser communities, like poverty stricken areas. He started out as a pilot program in, I believe it was India, I think Latin America and Africa. He started this program called Charity United. It's a children's literacy program, which he's now bringing to the United States. So he's doing like in New York City. Very cool. So that is someone who's looking to resolve problems, right? So we're not telling people don't come on and don't like commoditize your podcast and don't make money. That's not what we're saying. Everybody should be getting paid for what they're doing. And if you do a job really well, you get paid properly for it, right? It's a great, you get a lot of monetary exchange for what you're doing. It's people like that, though, that's first and foremost who we want to work with, because we want to be part of like building up society, not destroying society, not being destructive, not, we want to focus on all the positives. So our ideal clients are people like William Tucker, who founded a company. He's a CEO and founder. We work with CEOs. We work with founders. We work with authors. We work with filmmakers. So we're currently working with a couple who started a documentary. It's a grassroots documentary, grassroots movement that they're working on. They've done everything themselves. So it's the K-Woods, and their documentary is todiefor.com, which talks about food additives and dyes and what it's doing to our children and how it's really making them literally like crazy. Like, I hate to say the word ADD or ADHD because the founder or the person who discovered ADD and ADHD has now backpedaled on it and said he debunked it. He said it's not a real thing. When you look at our kids, like what they're being fed chemical wise and whatever, like that's what's happening to our kids. It's like more of a chemical onslaught, which is kind of timely because I'm not going to go into politics, but I've been following Bobby Kennedy for years, and he is all about like safe food and safe medicine. And it dovetails really nicely with this documentary. So, you see it from all angles. You just have to be able to look at it. From a health coach, I love working with like holistic clients like that. But again, our ideal client is somebody who's enthusiastic, who's well-spoken, who's articulate, who wants to get their name out there, who and realizes the value of PR, which is what we are. We're public relations. We're not marketing. Mm-hmm. So PR is the act of getting your name out there, getting good deeds well publicized. So, that's really our ideal thing. Like someone who brings the party with a good personality also. So.
Yeah. It's interesting that you should mention that last bit about between PR and marketing.
Right.
It's really funny. I've come across this too, Jen, where people think, PR and marketing are actually one of the same thing. And it's a big confusion people have is like, when they come to us or even come to you, probably, they actually come like, oh, what's the ROI of podcasting? Well, maybe you can help shed some light on that because, I think people might be confused about it or why am I not, they probably are wondering, oh, I'm getting on like some podcasts, but it doesn't seem like I'm getting a ROI of it.
Right, exactly.
So explain that. Like, I guess I know obviously you're not a marketing guru, but like explain like how the difference is and like just how it's different in Command Your Brand, like how we portray that,
Yeah, really good question and good point because I get that a lot. I actually have something written up that I use when I'm corresponding with people in writing because it becomes like, oh, I don't, I've done marketing before. I'm like, yeah, but we're not marketing. So there is a big difference. I mean, they do overlap. Don't get me wrong. Marketing, sales, and PR form a triangle, like a three-legged stool. But PR always rolls out first because PR is, like I said, it's getting you out there. Like the best PR I could think of is like Apple. Right? Everybody knows who Apple is because they've done a great job of PRing themselves.
Right.
They don't even really have to market at this point because their PR is so good. Oh, the next iPhone's coming out. But think of it like this. Like if you have a company, right? Say, you have the Josh Silvestro talent agency, right? And you start, there you go. You start like outflowing to market and to try to sell people to like do your marketing. People are like, who's this guy? I don't know who he is. He's a clown. Who is he? This Joe Schmo from Cresskill, New Jersey, right? So what you want to do is get your name out there. So, PR is a little bit like it turns the key in the door and opens the door so marketing can go right through. And then people will come back to you based on, hey, oh my God, I saw him on this Command Your Brand podcast. Really cool. Or, hey, Command Your Brand placed him on, I don't know, your talent agency, come up with something. The let's get everybody on TV shows, podcast, right? So, so once people see you, they'll know you, they'll like you, they'll trust you. That's the value of PR. Like in marketing, we're looking at ROI, which is return on investment, or lead generation, where people come back in. In PR, it's invaluable to get yourself known, and it really shortens the marketing and the sales cycle. So, we have clients who have said they go on podcasts and they get calls back in after the podcasts because somebody saw them on a podcast. Like it's visibility, it's amplification of your voice. And it's like drawing a very straight line from what you want to say to the people who want to hear it. And we book like super high-end podcasts for people.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that. So one of the things that I do at Command Your Brand for people who don't know is I record testimonials for all of our clients that go through our process and go through all podcasts. One of them that was very interesting was Rachel Gainsborough, if you remember her.
I do. I never met her.
Yeah. She was a client of ours. She went from basically being a doctor, like a really like makes, 7 figures as a doctor to like basically an Airbnb business owner, queen. Yeah. Like she's a queen of Airbnb. Right.
Yep.
And, it's funny. She was telling me like, because of these podcasts I went on, I think it was like 24, 48. I don't even remember, but she went on these podcasts and like literally she went on vacation and was like, oh my God, are you Rachel Gainsborough? Literally, I listened to all your podcasts and I bought your books and I bought your things. And I'm like, oh my God, and she was like, literally, I'm sold. I'm like, I'm done. I'm, just because she has so much out there that just people know her now as the person for that space.
Yeah. So I've mentioned some people I have friends who are in real estate. When I mention like short-term rentals, like Airbnb, I'll say Short-Term Gems, which is her company. And they're like, oh my God, I totally know that company. So she is like the queen of Airbnb. And she was able to like opt out of the crazy treadmill that she was on and go to something that is, I mean, who wouldn't want to be in the vacation field? Like you're putting people in homes when they go on vacation. But I never had the pleasure of working with her, but I've seen her videos.
Yes.
She's an engaging person to listen to. Right.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's it. But what you just described, exactly what you said, like she goes places and people know her. Right. That's PR. That in a nutshell, the simplicity of it, it's known and it's being known and recognized. And that you can't put a price point on that. Like how do you put a price point on, visibility, on people knowing who you are? And you don't even have to like really do much. Just mention your name and they're like, oh, I saw you on Tinfoil Hat.
Yes.
I always think of that because I love it because it's like a phrase that exists in my world. Like,
Yeah.
you have certain beliefs about food as medicine. You're termed a conspiracy theorist wearing a tinfoil hat. And I'm like, tinfoil fedora, excuse me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess, I obviously know the services that we provide at Command Your Brand, but I guess for the audience that maybe hasn't seen our site or hasn't really spoken to someone, I guess for you, like what are the real services that we provide? Like I know we obviously do guest booking, but like I know there's other services too. I guess you want to explain that too, like other services that we provide as well.
Sure. So we have our guesting program, which is for CEOs and founders and authors and filmmakers who want to get seen. So what we do is we place them on high-end podcasts, but they're not just high-end podcasts. They're the right high-end podcasts for them, for like their field. So we're putting them on. They are the opinion leaders in their space because we work with opinion leaders, and they are on a podcast that draws an audience that is looking for exactly what they're talking about. That's our podcast guesting program. It's our elite podcast guesting program. We have a Legends program, which is like the top echelon of podcasts. That's an invite-only program. So if you're interested in the Legends program, you have to write to me. I have to give you a questionnaire. We have to vet. It's like I said, invite only, and there's a vetting process for that because it's a super elite podcast with super elite clients. We also have production. So if anyone out there has a podcast and doesn't want to do the production or doesn't know how to do the production, we do that for you. So we lift that right off your shoulders. We produce the podcast. We make reels and shorts, and we put it out there for you. So it's a really great service. We're working with some cool clients right now. They haven't finished or their podcasts aren't quite out yet. So I don't really want to mention, especially the one's name, because she's not out there. When she's out there, I'll blast it all over the place.
Yeah.
And some of our podcasts, like our guesting clients are super cool also. Like, I immediately think of Tony Artaber, and I think of clients who are in that space. He pops up into my head first because I kind of follow his stuff. And then we have the new program that we just rolled out, which is also really cool. It's called Real Impact. I mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
So Real Impact is just taking already shot footage, and we're rolling it out right now for existing clients. So we're piggybacking it on with their podcast, either production or guesting program, or anybody that I've spoken to. So if I've spoken to you guys and you have not signed a contract with us yet, I'm going to let you sign on for the Real Impact program also. God, I'm going to slap my own wrist on that. I'm going to go out on a limb on that one, but I will allow you to pick that up also. So, it's basically doing reels for Instagram. And if you have a Facebook page that populates, you have to pick the settings. It'll put the reels on Facebook and on Instagram, and it gives you more visibility. That's actually like a little bit of a marketing aspect. So we're helping our clients. It's like a great add-on service. We're helping our clients to take the podcast links and give them more visibility. So it's like a double bang for the buck. So we're, a lot of people do have marketing teams, but if they don't, or they don't want to do it, or they want us to just do the continuity of service, that's what we're doing with Real Impact.
Or they can hire us if they have a marketing team, because they're two different places. Yeah,
exactly. And we've already got the assets. We've got the podcast links. I always call them assets because they are assets. You're making a great investment in self and in your business by joining us and doing a program with us. So the links are assets because they are, they're really good. So
totally
good to have to use for marketing. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it's funny, like, people talk to us all the time because I'm sort of the head of, people who come in our organization, they kind of talk to me first, or, if they're really like, I'm really interested as a guest speaker and they just want to go on, they like talk to you, So
yeah.
For people who I guess don't know, and they actually just want to talk to you, just to know maybe a bit who you are and just maybe talk to you about podcasting, we have our book a call site, which anyone can definitely log on to and actually book a call with us, either myself or Jen. But I guess for you, Jen, where would you, if they want to talk to you personally, let's say they just like, wow, I saw your podcast episode, you were great, and I want to just talk to you because you're an amazing mother, a health coach, and all the above. Where can they reach out to you?
Sure. So they can reach us at our Command Your Brand number, which is 212-220-3953.
Yep.
We have wonderful receptionists there who will help get you to us. Just ask for me, ask for Jen. Or they can email me at Jen, Jenn, at commandyourbrand.media. Or just go directly to our website. Our website has really cool information about us. It tells you who we are, what we do, our philosophy. There are case studies on there. So you could look at actual case studies of clients we've worked with, along with what their campaigns looked like. So it will tell you a little bit about marketing versus PR and why PR is so important to do. And then on any of those pages, you could look for the book a call button. And I think there was at one point, it might have been updated. There's a survey that tells you whether you're best suited for Josh's department or my department.
Yes. Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you can't talk to either one of us. We'll do a call. And if someone's more of Josh's division with his services, I'll refer them there, and vice versa. Josh is always sending people to me who are more of a fit for what my department, my division offers. So we work really tightly together.
We do. And, people come to me I want to get on podcasts. I'm like, okay, good. What do you want to get on podcast? I got to get on podcasts, because people want to get on podcasts. And I was just reading an article, Jen, I think it was maybe about 2 weeks ago, where I think by 2028, it's going to be a $6 billion industry. Something like that, something really crazy amount. Wow, that is amazing. So, if you haven't jumped on the podcast wagon, now is probably the best time to do it. Yeah. You guys can also check out too. So we have different services. We have the podcast guesting, the podcast, video editing and production area. Yep. And we also do too, as far as introductory place, let's say, for example, I want to do it on my own. I'm not really that big enough yet, So we actually offer too is a masterclass that actually teaches people, one, how to be a guest speaker, but also two, how to be a podcaster and how to grow your podcast yourself. It's our tools, but to help you, because we want to make sure everyone makes it and make sure everyone does well, Mm-hmm. And we also too have a book too, you can definitely check out. And our masterclass is free of charge, the masterclass and the book is free. And we also do courses too that teaches them if you want more information about how the details of how it works. You could definitely check out our website, which is, we have a podcasters one, which is how to build your podcast. And the other one's how to be a pro guest speaker. So that is definitely something you guys should check out. If, let's say I want to just do it myself. I'm not really ready for your services, but this is the best time to do it. So,
we actually are working. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you're good. You're good.
I was going to say you're actually working with a client right now who came to me and wanted to get on podcasts right away. He had started a podcast. He just didn't have the viewership yet for us to be able to place him on podcasts. His message is outstanding. He's been a huge business owner for years, built his own business, but he didn't want to use the business at all to get on podcasts. He wanted just strictly to PR his podcast. So Josh started him off on courses, and he's coming up through those lines, building his audience. He's going to be ready for us soon. And I think it's going to be an amazing journey for him because he's got such a really cool message to talk about. So I'm not going to out any of that, because when he becomes a client and he starts podcasting and he starts going on other people's podcasts to grow his podcast, then we'll make a big thing over that. But, that's another thing. We have a lot of clients who are actually podcasters.
Right.
So they have their own podcast and they want to get more notoriety for their podcast in addition to whatever their business is. So it's like a dual purpose. They get PR for their podcast and PR for their business. So just because you're a podcaster doesn't mean you can't go on podcasts.
Absolutely.
That's also another really cool thing that we do. So.
Yeah, podcasting is definitely the way to go. If you guys are not on podcast, this is definitely the best time to do it, Yeah. So anyways, thank you, Jen, for joining us. And, we'll be seeing each other. We'll be working together, as you know. So we definitely will be in touch. But, I want to thank everyone for listening. And of course, as I mentioned before, check out our masterclass, our book, and our courses. And then, of course, if you want to have time to chat with Jen, you can definitely do that and book a call with us. And we'll see you guys on the other end. All right. Thank you, everyone.